Awesome. So we're on Facebook.
And you're in a very beautiful setting. COVID has empowered you to be in a beautiful setting.
And I'm everybody with little chandeliers and pretty paintings and 1,000 thread count sheets.
So what are we talking about? We are talking about the 3 secret keys.
There are 3 secret keys.
3 secret keys to creating amazing relationships.
Yes. So these are amazing. They're absolutely true. And if you don't believe me, you can look through your life and see all the relationships that didn't work. And you'll notice that there's 1 or 2 elements that you didn't have. And that's part of, it's like part of the 3-legged stool that a relationship needs so that it can balance and have something that you can create from. So really,
I keep you sitting on the stool. 2 legs just doesn't work.
it doesn't. And I think most people have 1 or 2, usually 2, but not all 3. And it's just really interesting to note. So without further ado, I will tell you the first one. And you might think it's a little crass, but it's very true. So
And it's something we all enjoy a lot of.
So the first element that needs to be there if you're going to have a good relationship is that the person has to be good in bed. Now, this has to be your point of view of them and their point of view of you. That works. And, there's all kinds of points of view all over the board, but if you're fooling yourself or lying to yourself that it's enjoyable and it's not, the relationship is going to be really hard for it to go the distance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And isn't that interesting? Because that is the one thing that often starts out with all this like pizzazz and testosterone and estrogen, and it's this excitement at the start of a relationship and everything's so fun. And I remember my daughter saying to me when I met my new husband, my recent husband, I've only had 2, but the recent one, and she said to me, "Mom, does it stay like this forever? Because I don't see many people carrying on like you and Justin do all the time and at your age." And her point of view was, and I said, "Well, lots of people call it the honeymoon phase." And she's like, "Well, I'm never going to have that. I'm going to make quite sure that it carries on forever." And then she was actually in a relationship and it didn't actually work out that way. And it was so interesting because she had to change stuff up, and I've had to change stuff up to keep it in the so-called honeymoon phase, but to change it. So it does change based on your point of view, but you can change it up based on what a new point of view becomes to keep it going and keep it fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what I found.
There's so many things that come into play that cut down your wanting to receive from the person, because playing in bed or that sex energy, sexualness, all of that is the energy of receiving. And when you start to build up resentment, judgment, expectation of your partner, you build walls that keep you from wanting to receive from them. So there's a whole lot of other tools that you can apply so that you can keep clearing out those spaces and the walls so that you actually do want to receive from each other. And that's something that will come in some of my other classes, like the call that's coming up on Tuesday, the 6 steps to guided transformation. So, if you need tools and you have a relationship and you want it to be better, closer, more loving, maybe consider playing with us there. Okay, so the second key, are you ready?
Tool number 2.
Tool number 2 is that they provide money. Now, it doesn't have to be money in the sense of money, but they contribute to you making more money, not you always contributing to them the other direction. It has to really be both directions. So I've noticed that in a lot of my relationships, I would always choose people who didn't make a lot of money. I don't know why. I just was always the person who made more money. And over time, it builds up this weird resentment thing that you're always having to provide for them. And it's different. Like in the beginning, if the sex is good and you're receiving and all of that is working, there is an energy that creates you making more money and maybe them making more money. But if they don't have the same targets that you do and the same desires to create more, their limitations can start to drag on you and create your life being more difficult to create greater and greater.
For me, this money thing is so interesting. I spent like almost all my adult life being so independent, in control, knowing what was going on. Last year I made a really interesting choice to leave my job, give that all up. My husband was earning really good money, and hand it all over to him. Holy moly, that has been such an interesting journey. I think in just under a year, I have more points of views that have come up around every aspect of money than anything else. It's such a huge energy and a huge discussion, and it's just huge, 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 huge.
Yeah. Well, when people are gifting and receiving to one another, it opens up energetic flows from the universe.
Yeah.
And, choosing somebody that is willing to have their life continually expand allows you guys to both create more, even if it's in different ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. But there's a lot, not that, and there is a lot going on all over, and often I have to go, is this mine? Because the family, as soon as we see the family, the first thing they'll say to me, oh, Debbie, how's the money flows going? How much are you earning? Are things settling down? Do you need to go back to corporate again? There's so much. And then I'll be like, the next week, I'll be like, oh, did I do the right thing? Blah, 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 blah. And then I've got to go back to, that's just not my reality. I'm not going back there. It's such a thing. And that contribution that you're talking about to create together for us is so huge. And we have to continually keep re-energizing that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And everything that your family is saying is all judgment. They're trying to get you to conclude, and they're trying to judge whether you've done the right thing or the wrong thing. Well, usually, mostly from their point of view, that you're choosing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it's really tricky not to be
Yeah.
in resistance to that and not to agree with it. So
Yeah.
maintaining that space of interesting point of view, it's tough. And that's another reason why, that's why I love these tools. And I'm continually choosing and going to classes, facilitating classes, so I can build my muscle of being interesting point of view, not getting pulled into other people's realities.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's 2 down.
That's
Yes.
2.
And number 3.
Third one is somebody who allows you to do whatever you want, whenever you want, and you allow them to do the same thing. Now, this takes care of all those needy, clingy people. Relationships have a needy, clinging person in them.
Yeah.
A needy, clingy person is not letting you do whatever you want to do. A jealous person is not letting you do whatever you want to do. And, it's It's really crazy because in the beginning, you think that that person who's needy, clingy, at first you think they just adore you and they want to spend time with you and it feels good. And, you know, you're receiving all of that attention. But eventually it turns into this like sticky, clingy, you can't have your own space. And
Yeah.
you start to cut off parts and pieces of yourself. When you are willing to have somebody in your life who allows you to have the space for you and you to choose whatever it is that you want to do whenever you want to do it and you have for them, it's not like there's no line in the sand.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's no thing that you can choose. And it's not like you're going to go out and sleep with 10 other people because there isn't a rule or a line in the sand there. It's more of a choice that you have the freedom to choose that if you want, but you don't because there's a person who is willing to let you be and do and choose whatever you want. So you just want to be with them.
That's so lovely the way you said that, because it's just, it becomes a choice. That's so nice. It's because that's what you're choosing. There's no force there, there's no nothing. It's just that choice that you're making.
And it's really funny because I had that with one relationship after I got divorced. I had a relationship with somebody. He was good in bed and he let me do whatever I wanted to do. But, but the money piece wasn't there.
It's like a juggling act, isn't it? 3 balls, got to keep them all in the air. Can't have 2.
He had tricked me because we started creating classes together and it looked like the money piece was there, but he tricked me and it wasn't there. So eventually you find these things out. So
And the thing is, when you find them out, is to, so allowance is my best one, because when I met my husband, he had no beard and he was absolutely gorgeous. I thought he was the sexiest, hottest thing. And then he decided to grow a beard and he looked slightly different. And I still said to a friend one day, allowance is a beautiful thing when people do what you want them to do. But when they do something else that you're not quite so fond of, it's a little bit harder to be an allowance. And you have to keep changing that up. And even when I did the guided transformation with you, initially I was like, oh, I don't know if I really need this call. I got a great hubby, everything's going on. For me, that class showed me so much about finding more of me again, even in a relationship where it feels, it is great and we've got so much going and we've got so many things that we work on. Even in a job, even in like life as a whole, there's so much that we cover in there that I really loved it. I really did. Sometimes those things that you think you don't need are what you need the most, isn't it? So
it's like, when you do the How to Become Money workbook and he says to do that every month.
yes.
I get so much out of doing this class. I do it every month. And, what would that be like in a year if we chose to look at and
Wow.
work out those muscles of choice and awareness and presence with what actually brings us joy
Yeah.
and bring that into our relationships? How much greater would our relationships be? So I was just curious, in your previous relationship, your first husband, did you have all 3 elements?
I had no. In fact, I think I had less. So I think we had great sex. That was all cool. Money was no, money was a no-go. But I was really controlling them, so I gave nothing away. I had my own thing. I had my own finances. I managed on my own. Didn't take maternity leave. Went back to work. I was in so control all the time. And funny enough, I was not doing any access work, but I was, dabbling in some kind of spiritual stuff and a little bit off the wall, and he had no allowance of that. And I think that's where we grew apart, actually, because he was just adamant, what a load of bollocks, that's a load of crap, why are you looking into that? There was no allowance. So no, I didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. So Yeah. So if you have those three elements, you do have a good possibility for creating a good relationship. And then it's like from there, using the other tools to create greater and greater and greater all the time. Because you know as well as I, if you just rest in the, okay, this is good, it's sort of like standing on an escalator. You're just going to go down. Like you have to continue choosing and creating and
Absolutely.
reconnecting.
And the big thing that often we have to go back to, we've been together, I think we've been here 4 years now, I think it's about 8 years now. Yeah, it's 8 years. And we have to actively communicate and be super vulnerable about when things aren't working. And it's not always easy. And I know we spoke about that last time on the call, that stepping back and being vulnerable, even with someone that you're with and you're close to all the time, it's often not an easy space, because you actually sometimes have to look at it and say, well, actually, I'm not right. Actually, I'm not wrong, but that's the way it is. And how can we make this greater together to do something different?
Yeah.
And then unless you're both on the same page there, it's just not going to change. It's got to be something that you're prepared to be vulnerable and work out together.
Yeah. 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 Another thing that I found really interesting is that when people start to acknowledge this and then they realize, oh wow, he doesn't give me the space to do what I want to do, or she doesn't, or whatever the thing is, they find out one or two of the elements aren't there, or sex isn't actually really good, but I think I'll just turn that part of myself off so I can have the relationship. It over time, it makes it harder and harder for you to find your joy and your happiness. And then you start to think
Exactly.
that well, this is just life and I'm just going to hunker down and this is how it is. And that is no way to live.
Just plodding along, isn't it?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be that way. Just because everybody else is choosing it, it doesn't have to be that way. So I just invite people to really look at what is going on in their life, what they would like to change, and how can it be better? How can it be greater? Every day, how can it be greater?
Yeah.
It actually can. If you're in a relationship or not, you can still ask for every day to be greater.
And that sense of real joy and fun all the time, it is such a choice, isn't it?
It really is. It is. I have this little post-it note in my kitchen that says, joy, show me how you create.
Oh, that's really nice.
It's like every day when I make my tea or coffee, I look at that and I ask that question, and my joy in my life has bloomed and grown like more than I ever thought possible. Really crazy.
Can you say that again? I'm going to write on a sticky note.
Yeah.
That was so nice.
Joy, show me how you can create.
Wow.
Or show me what you can create.
Thank you.
Yeah. Show me what you can create. I think that's what it is. And it's funny because I still can't remember it. I got it wrong. I still can't remember it. So I need to keep having it up there.
You've got to keep it there for a while.
But it's so true. Like I don't know what I did. I bought into something about being serious and being proper.
Yes.
And being,
do the right thing. Be serious.
And it's like,
don't be too happy. Don't be too happy, otherwise people will think you're on drugs. Don't be too sad, because then people will probably think you're also on drugs. So
about being spiritually centered and balanced.
I love that post you put up.
You don't have to be sad to counterbalance. That's not true.
Yeah.
You can just be joyful, and it's a peaceful state. It's not manic, like all the time.
Exactly.
But it's just really wonderful.
So. Sense of peaceful joy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That is such
Yeah,
contribution. I
so
think,
we have another guided transformation coming up. So if anybody's interested in really finding out what brings you joy and how to strengthen those muscles of awareness so that you can start choosing more towards that and bringing that into everything that you do in your life.
and it's such a lovely class because it's over 6 days, so it's spread out. So you get a day in between where there's so much that transforms in that day, and you come back with a different perspective, different point of view every day. And it's 6 days, 6 hours, 13 tools. So there is so much information in there that you can. I'm so excited because I know I got some from last time, but I'm going to get even more this time again. I just know that.
It's just 1 hour a day. It's not a lot of time commitment. And there's a workbook
It's a
and
lovely workbook, yeah.
and we record it so you can listen to it again. Yeah, it's great. I'm really excited and looking forward to it. So
Exactly, yeah.
will join us. It's not a huge investment of time or money, but you'll get a lot of joy out of it.
Yes, absolutely. Lots of joy, lots of awareness, hopefully a lot more sex, hopefully a lot more money. How does it get any better than that?
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. We'll pop the link. I'll pop the link in underneath here when we post it, and then let's see what we can create more. Excited.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Bye.